The GDP, the gross domestic product. It's a term we hear a lot in the news, but what exactly does it mean? The GDP is the total market value of goods and services produced and consumed. It rises every time money is spent, regardless of the social or environmental impacts. The GDP is revered as the indicator of progress. If the GDP's up, things are getting better, right? Well, not quite. Let's explore this more. The GDP has two fatal flaws. First, it counts any monetized transaction, whether or not it's good for us. For example, in the year 2014, the United Kingdom's GDP counted over £6 billion in illegal drugs. Second, the GDP fails to account for things that don't have a price but contribute to our well-being. For example, there's no price tag on this tree's ability to absorb the carbon emissions generated by burning these lights. According to the logic of the GDP, the tree gains value only when it becomes this. To be fair, Simon Kuznets, the Nobel Prize-winning architect of the GDP, never intended it to be a measure of well-being. He even warned policymakers about this. In a 1934 report to Congress, he writes, "The welfare of a nation can scarcely be inferred from a measurement of national income. Goals for more growth should specify of what and for what." Robert Kennedy echoed this sentiment in a 1968 speech.
That gross national product counts air pollution and cigarette advertisements and ambulances to clear our highways of carnage. It counts special locks for our doors and the jails for the people who break them. It counts the destruction of the redwoods and the loss of our natural wonders.
Here's the good news. We already have more accurate indicators of well-being. One example is the Genuine Progress Indicator. Like the gross domestic product, the GPI also counts expenditures. However, there are some important differences. First, the GPI subtracts the costs of pollution, crime, and other things that are detrimental to society. It also adds in the value of positive things, such as volunteering, parenting, and the services provided by the environment. Let's take a look at our first picture, a thriving forest. The gross domestic product sees unproductive land, whereas the Genuine Progress Indicator sees habitat, biodiversity, and the ability to sequester carbon. All of these would be added to this indicator. In our second picture, deforestation, the GDP wakes up. It sees lumber, lumber, lumber because money is spent. The Genuine Progress Indicator counts the value of the lumber, but subtracts the costs of erosion, extinction, and climate change. In short, the GDP sees only money, and the GPI sees money and value. While the methods used to calculate the GPI are evolving and even debated, leaders around the world are making significant progress. For example, the European Union has a Beyond GDP initiative, and the country of Bhutan has a Gross Happiness Index. These indicators give a much more holistic measure of well-being and challenge the assumption that economic growth is unequivocally beneficial. Critiquing the GDP isn't about demonizing money. It's about elevating value. Instead of valuing anything we account for, we need to start accounting for the things we truly value: a healthy environment, strong families, secure communities, and shared economic prosperity. Interested in learning more? Head on over to my website or check out my book, where you'll find a lot more detail on sustainability and social justice. Spoiler alert for educators, you're going to find some very interesting links between the GDP and our reliance on standardized test scores. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you again soon.